best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
Welcome back to the Hishaku Hideout, a weekly podcast where we talk about the latest chapter and everything Kagurabachi. I'm here with Dice.
Yo.
And as a special guest, we got Bengal on. Say what's up, Bengal.
Yo, what's good? My name's Bengal, also known as Artispheria. You can go check me out on YouTube, but I'm on a little bit of a mini hiatus right now, so still go. Feel free to check out my videos. Yep.
Yeah, check the man out. Make banger content. And we're actually discussing chapter 111 today. And man, it's a bad day to be a Samura fan, but a great day to be a Kagurabachi fan at least. How y'all feeling about the chapter?
Mingo, you can go ahead first and take the floor.
Nah, because why I just get like, when this chapter dropped, I got tagged on Discord, I got tagged on Twitter, I'm getting clowned. Because for those of you who don't watch my channel, my most recent like Kagurabachi video was a video about the future of Iori. And I talked about Masumi Iori, which is the idea that Iori will join the Masumi. I also talked about the idea that Iori Mune, which is Iori wielding Toby Mun, and I talked in great detail on why I felt Iori Mune was incredibly like narratively dissonant. And one of my reasons was Samura dying, I just didn't really agree with. Now, to be fair, Iori has not wielded Toby Mun yet. So like, you know.
Yeah, there's still hope for that. There's still hope for that for the video.
There's still hope.
Samura's not in her life no more though, that's for sure.
But Samura dying, I'm just not a fan of. There's some copers out there saying he'll come back, but
that's like the Sojo copers.
I'm not that bad.
Sojo's gonna unimplode, and then Samura's gonna undust himself.
I remember when the Sojo arc was coming out weekly, people genuinely thought he might come back.
Yeah, I mean,
that's crazy.
That's how you know you move the fan base. That's how you know you move the fan base, though. When you got the people participating in delusion, just for a character, you gotta love it.
I mean, I could be on the front lines pushing Samura Return Glaze, but Samura.
No, save yourself from that.
I don't think I want to embarrass myself any further. Yeah, Piku's gonna be clowning me in his chapter review too. Ugh.
That dude got turned into Sam/Ura.
Yeah.
What do you think,
another
Kai?
Kit Kat.
I mean, I think it, obviously, like, jokes aside, I think the, conclusion and handling of Samura was, good. I think it, resonated. It's like the fact of wanting to talk about the future, but have to wait a little longer. This basically just kind of contextualize and just, everything that what we know of Samura's character. I think this is like who he is. We know he was gambling his life, and I mean, it's been like with that black energy. So, and we see what happens after, because we did talk about this. I don't know if it was when Shiny filled in, Dice, or with you, but like, since it was saying that he was using like the black energy and it wasn't the Toby Mun's, I wonder how that was gonna like play out in his death. And I mean, he literally just starts crumbling like the enchanted blades, from that usage of the black spear power, which was, I didn't think he'd go out like that, to be honest, but I just think it was a really solid chapter. One thing I do like seeing is Soga's flashback, the first time we ever see young Soga too. I think that's getting like overshadowed because of obviously the massive weight of losing Samura, but young Samura was kind of obviously was a badass.
Yeah, I actually feel like this little flashback adds a lot of, even more weight to Samura's sacrifice. I mean, you and me, we've been joking around, but we've also like thought that like the death of Samura was gonna be like for for the overall well of the story, at least that's like the way we were coming at it, and we were like, you know, making memes and all that stuff and just kind of clowning it. But like me personally, I do think he is like the best written character so far, and like the tragic character in the story. And even I that like always expected him to go out, like I didn't expect him to go out like this. And I do think that like this little flashback of Soga, and we see like Soga's hand also shaking, like before the war, during the beginning of the war, like they were not that different. Soga just went down a different path. Like Samura recognizes the war changed him. And for, you know, like we just talked about, Samura to go out this way with the black flames, betting on the future after Chihiro has moved him, this whole thing just moves me, honestly. And again, like I predicted Samura was gonna die, but I can't pretend like I called it to be anywhere or anything like this. I think this is even better than what I was expecting. So like you said, it's kind of rough for Samura fans right now, but I think since it's like it's so good for the story, I'm eating it up, man. I'm eating it up.
Yeah. I will say though that we should probably, I mean, I'm personally at least holding off on forming any concrete opinions about Samura's character until we get the next couple chapters, because a big question is, how is Hokuzono going to frame this? And how is Hokuzono going to frame specifically Iori now having Toby Mun in her possession?
I think with like, I mean, with Samura's pedigree and his like resume throughout the story, the roller coaster of a story arc that he had, I mean, I think this is a great execution, you know, at this point. Sure, there could be like, you know, any character. It just takes one chapter, one crazy ass thing to pop up to like kind of make you look at a character differently. But, I mean, considering everything we got from Samura and all that he's done, you know, all these aura moments, but a lot of like heartfelt like substance in the story. Like a lot of the substance, aside from like Chihiro and Kunishige, is Samura's like inclusion, and him going out this way, and you know, just him being you know, he died on his like on his own accord here. Like, you know, he on his decisions, it's not like he was just you know, tackling this, trying to end it by himself. Like first, like, you know, he had a reason to live, and you know, that's why he could make this decision. You know, there was no way they were not going to get out of here unless he did this. You know, like this dude Soga, he was shutting shit down, so this was really their only option to give Shiba a chance to like save Chihiro. And I mean, I'm cool with saying I think this is a great conclusion personally, but you know, I can see why, you know, you would want to hold off and see the execution post you know, Samura.
Yeah, one thing go ahead, Bingo.
No, I was just saying, yeah, like I don't have anything else to say right now.
Cool. Well, I mean, I'll pose this question for both of you, and I'll let you, Bingo, go first. In regards to like, what are your general thoughts on that final clash between Soga and Samura? Not just like the insane double spread, but like even Soga's kind of inner thoughts and how he sort of like, it seems like honors Samura, you know, as a fellow sword fighter. And I think that, again, with the added context of that little flashback, I think this is very moving. But Bingo, what are your like thoughts in general to just that final clash between Magatsumi and Toby Mun?
It was beautiful. The framing of it as well, with how it looked almost like he was being given a hug. And the fact that, you know, we know that based off their ages, Samura is older, right? And the fact that he calls him Akimura also implies that he's older. So it's just this kind of beautiful moment of like, it's partially camaraderie, it's partially respect, and just like, it's really beautiful to see that Soga, he really is a samurai to his core. Like, he will compartmentalize all of his feelings and connections for the sake of whoever he is treating as his feudal lord. Obviously, during the Seitei War, his lord was Kunishige, now it's Yuta. And I think it's just such a incredible, the framing is just so beautiful. Like,
yes,
that's all I can say.
I do like, you know, because starting with the flashback, we see that, they both had the same task. They're basically going to eliminate, evildoers.
Yeah.
And, just the fact of Soga, even at that young of age, it just seems like he is more bought into the fact of, the position of the strong. Soga's very like black and white about things. You know what I mean? He doesn't like allow himself a gray area to question. It's like you either, like we talked about before we start recording, he paints like these people, with a wide brush. And, if he views you as evil, like Hakuri, even though he has been, a great help to Chihiro, and he's putting his best foot forward, and just because of like who his family is, he's getting judged. Samura, even from back then, even though he's older, we see that like Samura still is like bothered. Obviously, he blinded himself, but he's still bothered by like taking lives and stuff. Where Soga just seems more like bought into it, and it's only right that like Soga could equally, because they said that they amid the pile of corpses, we felt a sense of mutual understanding. No one can stand with them on that hill. It was them too. You know what I mean? So, like Soga being the one to dispatch Samura, it just feels, it feels like after seeing that, it feels more rewarding than I thought it would have been, last chapter. This like little flashback did a lot to enrich the fact that, as you said, like they're hugging. It's almost as if they're hugging. It's like he's, he put him at rest. He put another swordsman at rest. That mutual understanding, and now it led to this.
Yeah, and I do love that what both of you said. It does really look like they're hugging, and the lines that like Samura says,
he's like, thank you.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
he knows that Soga could have just stalled and he would have died anyways.
No, and he's also like, Samura's also saying like Chihiro dispelled that curse, and he's telling Soga that he'll dispel his too. And like Bingo, like you said, it's such a beautiful moment, because it is a mixture of a lot of things. And like in seeing this and seeing the flashback, I can't help but wonder if the same thing that made Soga, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but like if the same thing that made Soga superior to Samura is the same thing that eventually allowed the war to kind of get to him. Because Samura, like we've been talking about, it does seem like Soga has this like absolute sense of beliefs, and like his ideals, like they're pretty much unshakable, whereas Samura has kind of struggled his own life with like guilt and this like mixture of emotions that comes with like being a swordsman and having to strike down people even if you know that they're evildoers. And it seems like, again, they're the top two, but Soga is on a whole different level, but the war didn't change him in the same way that it changed Soga. And I do wonder if that's one of those things where it's like, if again, like the same thing that makes Soga stronger is also like what kept Samura from like breaking and like switching up on his ideals, and this, this whole thing of like rooting out evil and protecting the weak and like upholding that motto the right way. And I know that's like a very, there's a lot to that, but I just can't help but think of that.
Because we do know now that we would pretty much stay like Soga's always had like this this sense of like duty. He has always like became a master swordsman at 18, all that, so we knew he was built different. But we have to see what changed in the war. Now, the whole like, if it was something that he lost his wife, then, I know a lot of people aren't going to like that. I'm not saying it is that, or I think it's that, but I'm wondering what is going to be that change. Is it something where maybe he's like this toxic sense of justice that he has just throttles too much because of sheer amount, that he was like killing that he was doing, or the things that he's seen? Did he lose somebody? So what exactly is this this curse that Chihiro is going to dispel of Soga? And I'm just hoping Chihiro just really like is a savage. I want to see Chihiro be a dog against Soga. Of course it's a Shonen Jump story, so there's going to be a lot of like I'm you, something like that.
Nah, he gonna spit on
like
him.
Oh yeah, I love that little. And
Stop.
nah, let me chill. But just the fact of like him trying to understand Soga and where he came from, and there's gonna be that deeper level of Chihiro truly understanding Soga. There's gonna be some kind of, maybe Soga's father and him have a kind of relationship that parallels Chihiro's and Kunoshige's. I'm not sure, but I do like the fact that Soga like could tell by Chihiro's eyes as well that he's like, I should have just chopped his head off.
Yeah, I thought that was
funny.
Gojo,
bruh. Should listen to Gojo, bruh.
Yeah, so you guys go ahead, Bingo.
Go ahead, Ben.
I was gonna say, I will say that like I'm pretty sure for Soga, it was just the fact that he was kind of raised, like I said, he's been a swordsman since he was like a little kid.
Yeah.
So I think Samura very much kind of chose to be a swordsman, whereas Soga was probably more like indoctrinated. I think it plays into like the themes of nationalism present in Kagurabachi. I mean, Hokozuna grew up on Naruto. I think creating a story about child soldiers who are indoctrinated with nationalism is like, par for the course.
Do it for your country.
And like I was saying before we started the podcast, the whole concept of like familial enmeshment, I think that Soga's attachment to the Soga family is probably really, really unhealthy, and his sense of self is very one note. I mean, it is kind of just like, I live for my lord and nothing else. He's willing to kill his own nephew and then even go as far as to think I should have chopped his head off. So like his morals, like you said, are very absolute, and I think that stems from like a very unhealthy household and a very strong and rigorous program of indoctrination.
Yeah,
I like that, because just real quick, it would also like speak to the irony of when he said that like he wiped out all of the islanders because they were indoctrinated, all of them with the same beliefs. And like, the irony almost jumps out of the page at that one panel, because it's like, bro, you very clearly are just as indoctrinated, if not more. So I do like that. Go ahead, Tom.
He was so indoctrinated that he was willing to sit in a jail cell for the rest of his life and rot if it meant fulfilling his role for his country.
Yeah.
I mean, and now, we're going to see just how absolute he, views the way of the world today, with, now he's saying that they're going to, basically make the enchanted blades, known in this corrupt world. So he's definitely going to like start orchestrating these like plans. I'm wondering how Japan starts to look, and especially with Soga having statues and people revere him as a war hero. Like, I think it's going to backfire on the Kabunabi, because now he's coming back, he's going to be reorganizing the Kabunabi around me and the Magatsumi, he says. So now people revere him. They're going to trust what he says. Eventually, it's going to start. There's going to be like, things might start looking great. Things might start turning around for Japan or something. But there's going to be like a turn where, he starts twisting the dials a little bit too tight. And, I'm waiting to see what that looks like. And this also would put, now that he's in the Kabunabi, now he's like going to be the center of the Kabunabi, Chihiro is going to be his, like, obviously his enemy. That kind of makes Chihiro like, an enemy of the state. And we know where we got the two other enchanted sword bearers we still got to meet, of course. There's a possibility of a training arc with Itsuo Shirakai, have to handle the issue with Enten being broke. So I'm hoping this next arc kind of slows down a bit. And really lets us kind of sit in the aftermath for a bit, because it's only been like a month since Sojo died in universe. So
Sojo died, and let's see, I think it was a couple of days, maybe a week or two, then the Rakuzaichi. The day after was Swordbearer Assassination. Then a week later was Kyoto, and that same like 24, 48-hour stretch was all of Kaminabi HQ.
Yeah. So 1 month since the first villain died, and I mean, it's crazy. Like like all that's happened since then is, there's been a lot. So I'd like to kind of just sit in this aftermath for a bit. Let's see who actually follows Soga in the Kabunabi. He didn't just outright kill Hokuto, which was interesting to me. Considering like he took out, Ibiki Misaka. So I'm really hoping we get to see like his interactions. Like I don't think Hirohiko is going to be somebody that wants to be around Soga because Soga's going to want to kill Chihiro, or maybe that's how. Maybe he helps Hirohiko get Kumiyuri back or something. I don't know, because we know he wants to use the enchanted blades, and for him to do that, Kaguri could have a Subaru sword, but they gotta kill Subaru first. So that's why I'd like to really stew on the next part of the story.
Also, I want to say that the Swordbearer Assassination arc, which I know, if you look at the website, by technicality, you got Swordbearer Assassination was day after the Rakuzaichi to Samura betrayal and Chihiro getting murked. Technically, Kyoto's its own arc, Kaminabi HQ's its own arc. I view it as a saga in like 3 separate acts. So Swordbearer Assassination arc, the official one is Act 1, Kyoto Act 2, Act 3 being Kaminabi HQ. I will say that most of Kaminabi HQ, and this was kind of also shown in chapter 109, was a lot of like setup for future stuff. You have the introductions of Kiri, Natsuki, you see more of Azami. We also have Hiyuki, who, while she's not present, she's been like built up and foreshadowed. She's kind of like the Mihawk of the verse right now.
And she's defending the other sword bearers.
Yeah, she's defending right now, Pinky. So. There's like, what's going on with Subaru? We still need to see like what's going on with Subaru and Pinky. There's a lot of mystery. I mean, chapter 93, I believe it was, in Kaminabi HQ, was Kazen and Ichiki talking about like the greater issues with sorcerer dynasties. Chapter 104, Yuta shows us a backstory where we see the direct consequences of the enchanted blades not being there and sorcerers and sorcerer dynasties running wild unchecked. There's a lot of buildup for Kagurabachi to go 300, 400 chapters in this arc easily.
I hope.
And I can't believe that people seriously thought that Chihiro and Samura versus Yuta was going to be the end of this series. So
yeah,
that's insane. That's absolutely
madness.
Insane.
But no, like there's a lot of setup in this arc, but I do feel like we need some space to breathe, because Kaminabi HQ was like, especially right off the heels of the whole Chihiro, the three-way clash, Enten versus Toby Mun, it was a lot of like, can we just get some breathing room? It was also kind of rushed. I mean, we remember the art. Hokuzono was busy. Anime NYC, which shout out, I was there. There was the whole like Burger King collab and the like all the color pages he was being forced to do. Like, yeah, Hokuzono was overworked. He needed to just take some time, not rush it. But I do hope that we get some real breathing room soon. And a lot more focus on like characters we haven't seen in a while. I mean, I know like Char, like what is she gonna do? But maybe Hiyuki.
What about Kazane? Right?
Stop.
Yeah, where's Kazane? No, Kazane definitely got some things to say, especially because he's like, the enchanted blade shouldn't exist in this world.
Yeah.
I feel like him and Chihiro would see eye to eye a lot more on.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that someone with no legs showed up to the fight before him, though.
Yeah, we got Ikuto back after like what, 80 chapters?
He didn't have no legs, and motherfucker pull back up for duty.
I think Kazane will, like you say, Bingo, I think he'll come back at some point and he'll have a lot to say. I'm not sure, like I said, with the whole like with like Yura's whole crash out and the argument that he brings to Chihiro, I do wonder if Chihiro's gonna entirely see eye to eye with him, or if he'll be kind of like a little bit more on the fence, or I do wonder where Hokuzono is going to take that. But I agree with you both. I think some breathing space would be kind of good for the story at this point. I do like how Soga acknowledges that he has to tidy up a few bothersome loose ends, and that is Yura's body as well as the eternal contracts. So I do wonder like, Tai, you did talk a little bit about like the Hishaku. We know that he wants to reform the Kamunabi. Are the Hishaku going to be a part of that? There, like I said, there are a bit of like ideological differences between how the Hishaku went about things and how Soga goes about things. So yeah, I do wonder if like Hokazono is going to like pull a time skip, or how exactly he might be able to slow things down.
And it does come down to, my bad, what were you saying, Dice?
No, go ahead, because I was gonna switch topics at this point.
I did want to say, like, it's gonna like come down to how does Soga like view the Hishaku's actions. Is, the fact that they took down, like, is he gonna give them like a pardon for certain things or certain members, where he allows, like, say Kaguri, someone like Kaguri would follow Soga. So under now that most likely Kaguri is wielding Subaru's sword, now Soga might tell him, come with me, I'll let you wield that under me. We'll get rid of, we can get rid of Subaru, and then you'll wield the enchanted blade under my command. Something like that I could see possibly. But I really like the interactions between him and the members is what I think I'm most interested in, as well as seeing like what's her name, Yatsuru or whatever, for the white robe of the Kabunabi, the female Kabunabi member. Where's she been in all this? She's a top 3 member of the Kabunabi, and we saw nothing of her this arc. Where's Hishaku? Maybe Hishaku's always been, because I had this theory that like Yura, after he lost his wife, he was on a similar path of revenge, kind of like Chihiro was. And as Shiba was Chihiro's enabler, maybe Hishaku was Yura's enabler. And then maybe we'll see like Yura's like how he created the Hishaku and got these people to follow him. Kind of like Chihiro has been on this path of revenge and meeting these people. Someone like Hakuri that was like looking over merchandise, for his family, and not saying he was a completely bad dude or totally bought into it or anything like that, but we saw Hakuri and now his developments and what he means to Chihiro. We might see some of that from Yura, but like someone like Yuki Sada isn't gonna, like, I don't know if depending on what happens with Yura, he's not really gonna rock with Soga because he only wants Yura as a fanboy. Hirohiko's a wild card almost, but maybe Hirohiko will be cool with Soga if Soga can promise him to get Kumiyuri back.
Yeah,
I don't know.
What do you think, Miguel?
I got a lot of stock in. I mean, most of my stocks are kind of dead now. They were all revolving around how
portfolio,
how Samura's fight would conclude. I had a lot of stock in. It was my second most recent Kagurabachi video about Chihiro and N10. That Chihiro, and again, this is obviously before chapter 108. So none of us knew that N10 can in fact be broken. We all just thought that N10 being able to break them was like a unique thing. I put a lot of stock in
your portfolio up, bro.
I put a lot of stock in N10 reset theory. So basically, the idea was Chihiro would be N10 would be reset to its chapter 1 self, and Chihiro would reject N10 and sort of character regress after kind of discovering that Kunishige low-key deserved to get slimed, and seeing that Kunishige really wasn't that great of a guy.
See, I've entertained that. I've entertained that a lot on this pod. Go ahead.
Although, anyway, it happened. So, and then another stock that I had, a friend of mine, shout out Zal. He and I kind of came to this idea that, and this is another stock I have, is the Natsuki training arc. Chihiro and Natsuki having a mentor-student relationship. A lot of this, I mean, this stock is very much still alive, but it was what came out of this that we have kind of mourned, which was the idea that Samura would burn Toby Mun to enter his black state instead of burning his own life. And so in his black state, after Toby Mun was like broken, Chihiro would take the pieces of Toby Mun, primarily its hopefully intact hilt, and use it together with the tip of Cloud Gadget to create a wakizashi. The idea was it would have like a singular signature ability that was a combination of Suzaku's fire and Yui's ice, which would create healing water. And this would be used in tandem with N10, the water and fish blade, to first off make sure he still has Suzaku basically, and second off so that he's dual wielding after his training arc with Natsuki in the same sword style that the real life sword saint Musashi Miyamoto fought in. And if I recall, the English translation of that sword style was from water.
Ooh,
sure.
He said the holy water, the healing water.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
that's
N10's name in English is Abyss of Heaven. So
Yeah, I mean, there's like the whole Nishiki turned into a dragon, like the Gyarados lore and all that. It's been big in the community. I've always kind of like sat on the thought of the end of the story. The final fight is just going to be a 1v1 Soga versus Chihiro, but Chihiro will be wielding a blade that carries like his experiences through the story, and basically with like his fully synchronizing with the sword and maximizing its capabilities to like his theoretical view of it, would basically like allow like Akka to he absorbed some of Butterfly, he absorbed Cloud Gouger, he absorbed Toby Mun. It's basically like he'll Akka a bit of every enchanted blade of all the previous 6 enchanted blades, and that will kind of like unlock N10's like truest potential. It's like one blade to rule them all type thing. So where it's a 1v1, Samura's really fighting with the power of all the enchanted blades before him, including like his own, versus like Soga, who's just wielding his absolute toxic justice with his black infinite forms. The motherfucker got an insectarium in his back pocket.
Yeah.
But like I can see that like it's basically gonna be framed like that. So, Chihiro's one man, but he's fighting with the experiences of everyone that he's met on his journey for this like revenge, and that'll give him the resolve he needs to break Magatsumi.
Yeah. I mean, those are both banger theories. I do wonder, because we did touch on this a little bit, but we didn't really go get into it yet. So I think it's about time we do. Does the fact that Toby Mun lands right next to Yori, Samura sends it via a feather, does that change anything for you guys? Obviously, I know, Bingo, you had a couple of theories that like this chapter like really changes, but Ty, and I'll let you go first this time. What does this do for you? Like, in terms of like, do you still think that like Toby Mun is eventually going to be destroyed? Do you like, again, what do you project with this development and the possibility, because we don't know for sure of Yori wielding Toby Mun.
Yeah, and like I said, I've never personally been big on her wielding Toby Mun. I've never been strictly against it. Like basically the things I've had issues thinking that why she shouldn't can like basically be Hokuzono can flush out those reasons going forward to make her character have motivation to like want to this drive, like kind of how Chihiro said in the theater, I'm going to hell, like I'm already on my way. So like if Yori like really like this pushes her to that, because she doesn't want to kill, and they're going against Soga, who they're going to have to like, you can't be half-assed resolve against someone like Soga, because that's a battlefield. You're playing with your life there. But I personally think there still could be room for her not to take Toby Mun here. This could have just been Samura wanting to tell her. This is his way of telling her, and not having Chihiro break the news to her. So
fair.
That it could just be that, and Chihiro could just come and take Toby Mun and put it in the storehouse. And that will also kind of save Hakuri's life in a sense, because then Soga couldn't just outright kill Hakuri. Because if he kills him, then they would lose access to Toby Mun then. But I mean, that would also mean that Hakuri is a subject to get kidnapped and tortured until he, they force him to bring out Toby Mun.
Jesus.
But I mean, that's really the only thing I could think of. I don't really see anyone else wielding Toby Mun at this point, though. If it's not her, I don't think it's gonna be stored away.
Okay. How about you, Bingo?
Kind of similar to what Tiberius was saying. I don't see this as confirmation that Iori will be wielding Toby Mun. I see it more as partially trying to keep Toby Mun away from Soga, because Soga would toss that to like Hokuto or there's not really any other.
Yeah,
Shiba
wouldn't be able to teleport and grab it. Soga would not allow that shit.
If Shiba tried to grab that, like, they'd be fried.
Yeah.
So yeah, it probably partially was that, and of course choosing the location of Iori was, I'm sorry, I'm dead. But I find it really ironic that his last words were about Chihiro.
To Soga, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, his last words, yeah. I mean, he thought about Iori, obviously, but like his last words being about Chihiro.
He's
like,
just getting started. Oh no,
hey, bro. Who's your kid again? Who's your kid again? But
yeah, I mean, because he does bring her up. I do see what you're saying. He brings her up, and he's mainly to talk about how like Chihiro, like thanks to Chihiro, it was that he was able to see his daughter again. So, yeah, he is glazing the fuck out of Chihiro in his last moments. That is funny.
I don't know. I don't really see anyone else. I don't see it like working that well. The only other potential candidate for wielding Toby Mun, if you really want to think about it as open-minded as possible, is Chihiro, but just no. Don't even try to speak that into existence, bro. No, just no. No, thank you.
Yeah, like let him like when he used Cloud Gouger, like that felt like, okay, that was a perfect like moment in time for him to wield another enchanted blade.
Yeah.
But going forward, I can't see that happening again, or that like I said, I'll let Hokuzono cook. I'm all down for it, and I'm open-minded for like what he like delivers to us each week. But just in theory, like in my head, I personally just don't see another like perfect scenario for it to feel as like smooth of a transition.
No, him wielding Cloud Gouger was significant because he was redeeming the blade.
Exactly.
Like Shiba said in chapter 83, he was steering it back towards its true intent.
Yep.
So I think that worked really well thematically, but specifically Toby Mun, it was always wielded for the right reasons, and it never needed to be redeemed. And Chihiro already saved Samura, so there was no need for him to redeem Toby Mun. And this is kind of unrelated, but I believe that Hideout will get redeemed. I believe that
as a character,
he will. Yeah, I believe that N10 versus Kumayuri, or whatever the next enchanted blade Chihiro wields versus Kumayuri, will be Chihiro connecting with Hidehiko and finally breaking through to him instead of just not really caring like he did before. And I think that will be Kumayuri's redemption. And then for the other two blades, I don't know. And Magatsumi's not getting redeemed. Magatsumi's not getting redeemed, bro. That blade is just getting destroyed immediately. That blade's not getting redeemed. But yeah, Cloud Gouger was the only blade that really needed a redemption.
So you're saying now the stocks you just lost, you're now dumping them into Hirohiko's camp?
I've had stocks in Hirohiko getting redeemed for a while. I've had a Hidehiko and Uruha video that I've been cooking since like August or July. I've just like, there's so much subtext to these characters. They're really layered, and I don't feel like, even though I have like a squadron of Hidehiko fans who can help me out, I don't feel like there's enough for me to talk about and go into without the inevitability of a subtext analysis video where you're going to get a lot of people like being like, oh, you're just inserting headcanons and making stuff up. Oh,
I see.
Oh, you're just pretending to be literate. You're pseudo-intellectual. I'm like, I don't want to
people,
yeah.
Some
like,
people
your
don't really like.
Shouldn't be my problem. I put trigger warnings for illiteracy in my videos sometimes. I put trigger warnings for analyzing subtext.
Yeah, like some people gotta realize, like, just like when you make a video about something, like it's something that obviously that you believe, if it's a theory or whatever it may be, a character breakdown, like you're like perceiving the character, like your interpretation, you know what I mean? Sure, there's room for like objective talk about certain characters, but a lot of times certain people take things differently. So a lot of like your feelings on characters, it's all subjective because we all like place different, the scale is it's a sliding scale for each of us of like the different parts of their character. Like I'm not huge on Samura. I don't hate him, but I'm not a Samura fan. But like he's the best written character in my opinion. Like I still view him objectively great. But it's just, and when you make a video where you're like interpreting how you perceive the character, a lot of people just tend to like equate to like you're making up headcanon and trying to pass it off as like, fact, when you're just like giving your interpretation of a character. And
especially when there's substance, right? Like
Hirohiko's got a lot on his character that you could put, like there's a lot that you can pull from out of the little bit that we know, and it's like we see his actions and basically how he is and how he moves, kind of, like just his actions kind of flush his character out a bit more. And so he's one character that I am interested in seeing how he bounces back, because I do think he is going to have one of the craziest PR turnarounds.
No, the O3 memes, I'm not gonna lie, I boost them. I like them. I think they're funny, but I think Agenda low-key rots people's brains, because Hirohiko is like one of the characters with the most setup, like in the entirety of Kagurabachi. I would say the only character with more setup and layers than him is probably like the Misaka brothers, Natsuki and Ibuki.
And bro, like Hirohiko's literally like the running horse to like keep Chihiro, like I feel like he's gonna keep Chihiro always pushing forward, like his running partner, always neck and neck with him. He always pushed Chihiro, and of course obviously Chihiro's always liked, had no issues with him, but that's Hirohiko's now truly got like a reality check. Like that man was bad off at the end of the hotel. So I want to see where his character bounces back from that. Now that he hit the pits, the only way is up. And we know what he's capable of. So now that he has this this different mindset, I think like Yura said, he needs experience. You're doing well to lose. And so we're gonna see how that pays off.
And I do wonder, because like, maybe there's nothing here, but I do wonder if Samura's death is gonna like impact him in any way. Like, not that I'm saying this is gonna move him or anything, but I do just wonder how he'll react, because they did clash. Like Samura put Belt to ass. He was close to killing him himself. And I do wonder, like you're talking about Tiberius, like any change of mentality, and like if this development changes anything for him, because he was trying to kill Yori as well. And just to bring this back to Yori, I will say, I think I'm more than you guys, a bit more on the fence, just because of how Hokazono has handled previous developments and previous things that he's foreshadowed. Even though I personally wouldn't want Yori to wield Toby Mun, again, it all depends on the conversation surrounding the Enchanted Blades and what type of message Hokazono is trying to push here. Like, before we started recording, we kind of entertained the idea of her kind of like wielding the blade, deciding to become contracted with it out of anger, and kind of like seeing her go down a path, or wanting to go down a path similar to Chihiro's, where now Chihiro's kind of like on the other side of the fence trying to save her from herself, just like he was kind of saved from himself. But also like, I would kind of like Hokazono take the story in that route, right? If the goal has always been to kind of eliminate the Enchanted Blades, how would that kind of bring us closer to that? So I can't help but wonder if kind of that goal has changed, or if there's like an intention for that like to change as the narrative continues to push forward. And what leads me to like also think about this a little bit more is what Yura said. And again, we talked about this before we started recording, but I think Yura is, alongside Samura, kind of like the only one that's really been able to get through to Chihiro in terms of potentially looking at the blades from a different perspective.
Tojo.
No, Yura. I'm talking about like Sojo. We know like he had to like come to terms with what Sojo was saying. But the reason I say Yura is because of what he told him in the same chapter that he kind of burned and gave his body up for Soga, is the fact that he tells him like, your dad made the world like this by putting the blades away. Like the blades, there is a responsibility that they have as kind of like, you know, as kind of these tools with such absolute power that can, you know, protect lives and save lives. And even though they were forged during wartime, there was very much that intention in them. So yeah, it all depends, like, again, where Hokazono kind of wants to take this conversation. And I've said this before, like, to me, this is probably at least my favorite aspect of Kagurabachi's narrative, is this kind of like duality about the enchanted blades and what is right versus what is wrong. And is there kind of like a definitive way to kind of, you know, see that? So yeah, I know I'm a bit all over the place, but that's just kind of my 2 cents regarding this.
Yeah, it's always like Kunoshige's like, you know, the masterpiece that people know him for, the enchanted blades, versus, you know, his real the true masterpiece, which is Chihiro. And it's all about like the question he asks, you know, what's the answer for justice to you? You know, and Kunoshige, they were in wartime, you know, the first 5 blades basically brought allowed Japan to fight back and, you know, fight to a standstill. And then, you know, it makes sense that because, you know, it didn't look like they were necessarily winning with just support, you know, the support function. And that's when the Magatsumi comes out. And then, of course, we know what happens then. So now, like, Chihiro's like choice of like, you know, justice is to get rid of his father's, you know, masterpieces. And, you know, like, it's going to be pretty interesting though to see how the other 2 sword bearers like view all the actions that happened up until now, because one, Sojo didn't give a fuck about like the state of anything. Uraha, you know, he basically he's the first one to like kind of meet his end, quote unquote, to Samura. But now so much has happened. You know, sword bearers, the swords, you know, who's on what side, the Kaminabi, Soga being out. There's a lot that's changed now that the other like sword bear, you know, Uraha, Samura, the ones we met so far, didn't have to kind of like sit and weigh their options on, or, you know, get their opinion. So now that Soga is free and Samura has died and all these things have changed, how are they, you know, I think we're going to get a lot more like lore dumps from those 2 sword bearers now that there's so much has happened. You know, their reaction to it might let us in on more what, you know, things that happened during the war and all that.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, it really does depend, like you said, Dice, on how Hokazono wants to frame the enchanted blades. I've gone on record on my channel to sort of state the opinion that the enchanted blades are kind of like what Samura said, relics of the past. They're weapons of war that the new generation shouldn't have to carry on. Chihiro is sort of an exception to that as the main character, the third answer, and the fact that this is his family trauma. Like him, Kunoshige, Soga, this is a family issue for him. But aside from Chihiro, it really shouldn't be the next generation's responsibility to carry on these burdens or have to use the enchanted blades at all. And so I am very strongly of the opinion that Iori wielding Toby Mun is just pure like thematic and narrative dissonance because of that.
I can see that. I can see that for sure. Is there anything else in this chapter you guys kind of want to go over before we head out of here?
I mean, Kazan, we didn't talk about Kazan.
What is there to say?
He stuck to that wall. Speaking about that Burger King collab, that motherfucker, he ate a Whopper already. That dude ain't moved. But,
bro,
how
he's
many
been stuck in
chapters?
the same position this whole time.
He's wall art at this point.
It's Soga all over again. You know, he hasn't moved for how many chapters?
The time is nigh, and that motherfucker's gonna roll over. But it's like we see, it's interesting though that he is like I kind of got like a different like feel for when Soga's talking to Kazan than like Soga talking to Izaru.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there, you know, I imagine there's gonna be some Kabanabi members that choose to follow Soga, because we know that there's sympathizers, throughout that we found out in the Kabanabi, the assault on Kabanabi HQ. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly, if we're going to get this shot like after the Sojo arc where we saw the Kabanabi for the first time at their table. I wonder if we're going to get a spread of the new Kabanabi with Soga in the center.
Wait, yeah, like the Espada or the Ikatsuki?
Yeah, basically
cool.
That kind of framing.
That'd be really cool. I'm just going back through the chapter. One thing I noticed that I pointed out when I initially read the chapter, but I didn't go over just yet. I mean, first off, it's very interesting to see Soga's eyes like without the scars or the Magatsumification. It looks almost uncanny. But
yeah,
when you see his hand shaking, I believe this is page 3. When you see his hand shaking while he's getting the innocents to leave, and Samura and him talk about their duties and wielding katana, I kind of read this as Samura shakes his hand because he's afraid of killing. But because you see it in the first page, his hand shakes when he kills. And you also know that this is Soga's hand because of the way he's holding the blade.
Yeah.
But Soga's hand shakes because of a different reason. I read this as his hatred for evildoers and his obsession with justice kind of always existed. And honestly, I was surprised that Ibuki Misaka didn't show up in this because, I mean, when you look at chapter 89 and also the foreshadowing in that saying with chapter 20, I want to say chapter 27. Yeah, 27. How Ibuki Misaka is alluded to have been this like very powerful lightning of justice, I destroy all evildoers type of character. I was expecting him to sort of show up, knowing that Soga and Natsuki are the same age. It really makes you wonder what was the relationship between Ibuki and Soga, because Soga seems to kind of carry a sort of similar mentality to Ibuki, at least from what we know. And yeah, like, why did his hand shake? Was it just hatred of evildoers, or was it a fear of killing? Because Samura saw it as a fear of killing.
That's
with Misaka too, I don't think that because this is before the war started, Samura and Soga's flashback, that's before the war started. I don't think Misaka was even he didn't even like go over to Tokyo or anything like that until the war began, and he got his was selected for the Cloud Gouger. But I mean, still though, I get what you're saying, but I do want to see like Misaka. I mean, that's my goat, even though he's never done anything. I would like to see him pop up in the a flashback, maybe all the sword bearers the first time that they get together, like when Kunishige calls them back so he could do the contract or something. Like, and just how they interact with each other. That would be so fun.
Yeah. I do like kind of like the fact that it is open to interpretation why Soga was shaking, and I actually like either way, like I like both of the headcanons, just to kind of call it that, right? Because at first I did take it as like Samura realizing that they weren't so different, but I do also like your interpretation, Bingo, where it's just like it's actually Soga himself, and it speaks more to his personality and him having like issues like at this moment kind of keeping himself composed. And as well as Misaka, I do also agree in like wondering how he plays a part in the dynamic between the three, because Misaka, like Soga and Samura are stated to be top 2, but Misaka was also stated to be on par with Samura in terms of like the fame he got, at least, right? So like I do believe that the gap between Soga and Samura was wider than what it would be between Samura and Ibuki. But also I do agree that like Ibuki and Soga probably shared more similar mindsets. So man, we need that Seitei War arc already, for real, because Hokozun is just edging us at this point.
Soga, I wonder, like, because we know the Misaka brothers were kind of like delinquent, and they were in the streets and stuff like that. I wonder if Soga would almost view them as like Ibuki as a punk.
That's a good question.
Yeah,
they might have like very clashing philosophies, but
he
at the
didn't
same
like
time,
Ichigo Shirakai, and that is Samura's like master, which I mean we could see why he wouldn't like him because he do have some questionable ideals, but you know that I guess it's just interesting to see like how cut and dry is Soga's view of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I was thinking like
that's gonna be
Ibuki, his even if he clashed with him, I think that they still were close in some way because when you look at how everyone reacted to the end of the Seitei War, Samura just got like depressed and he just pushed everyone aside. He cut everyone off pretty much. Uraha doesn't even know what Magatsumi's abilities are. So he obviously like trauma repressed everything because you can see in the flashback, which the chapter 86 flashback is very questionable because it's a double spread from Samura's POV, but this chapter revealed that he was blinded even before the Seitei War. So I don't know what's up with that. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe he healed his eyes just for that fight, but I don't know. Like Samura, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing?
it's like some meme shit where he got a crow on his shoulder.
Either Uraha got like knocked out immediately into the fight, or he just had like whatever they saw was so traumatic that it made this 17-year-old kid just repress everything. Because now at 35, he acts like the exact same that he probably did at 17.
Yeah.
So there is something wrong with that guy.
And
just
for sure.
Something wrong with him.
We know that they didn't even really. It almost looks like they were just trying to survive, as we know now, because Soga was just big chilling up on his little rock, Aura armor floating and shit, while his like liquid death spreads and kills everything.
You were probably hearing the screams of it too.
Oh yeah, it's got to be like. Yeah, that has to be like one of the worst atmosphere, especially for someone of that age, younger person, where like Samura, it kind of, even though he don't like it, he understands that, he has his reservations about his duty as a strong swordsman, but he knows there's a reason why he's wielding a sword. But a young kid, you're just telling your gift, you're a sword master at this young age. Here's a nuke. Go do your thing. It's very different mindset you're going in with. That maybe it's just because they didn't Soga hasn't really had to show them like his moveset, because he was just repelling them with his like lifesteal ability, and they were just trying to survive, trying to stop him, and he stopped himself. So it might have been that he didn't even need to whip out a butterfly or caterpillar.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could be.
Go on, Dice.
No. I was just saying that could be why Uruha didn't exactly see the particular abilities of the Magatsumi, because we do know that, according to Soga, at least, all it took was one stroke. So it might have just been the malediction, from there on forward, and who knows what exactly he whipped out against the other bearers if he had to like use anything, right?
Yeah, he might have just thrown like dragonflies.
Spam the fuck out.
He definitely used Centipede. He definitely used Centipede.
True.
Just because like Samura knows what Centipede is.
Yeah.
So, the fact that Uraha only knows Centipede from Chihiro improvising and ripping it off, like okay, dude. Okay. But where I was going with this is the one sword bearer whose reaction is the most interesting to what happened is in fact Ibuki Misaka's. Because he, as like this super like the most justice focused, like punishment justice focused character that we know of out of the 5 other sword bearers, and someone who had the same brotherly age gap that he had with Natsuki, it's very likely that even if they clashed over their year or 2 years together, they probably ended up forming a fairly strong bond. And it's a little bit of headcanon, but I like to think, at least, that they formed a pretty strong bond, but seeing what Soga was willing to do and becoming the exact type of evildoer that Ibuki dedicated his life to purging probably broke him, which is why he's like very passively suicidal. Like he just wastes away. He pretty much rotted. He didn't train with the sword. He lost the will to fight, pretty much lost the will to live almost.
What's the
just
point, right?
rotted away and died.
And think about
Yeah.
if he kills himself, then that'll someone else can just take up and he
Yeah.
doesn't want anyone to wield the cloud gouger. You know what I mean?
Which
Or
is
like,
why he didn't. But like,
Yeah.
if that wasn't a concern, he
well,
probably
yeah,
would have.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that's a good point, Bingo. Like I could see that for like Ibiki, especially with like that shock of like what happened in the war, of like this person, sword master like Soga, and what he turned into. Excuse me. I'm dying.
Getting there, buddy.
I could see that being like partially, because we know like the events of the malediction, because this happened after the treaty was signed, because Soga was like, nah, that paper don't mean shit.
Yeah.
And he went and did the malediction. And that is basically like the catalyst for everything that proceeded forward. If the war ended there, Kunishige might not have sealed the enchanted blades. If that happened there, Ibiki and Samura may not have been as traumatized. We know Samura did hold like guilt, and he couldn't really stomach killing people even before the war, sure. But the malediction just really raised the level of that PTSD from the war, and like the trauma that it sets going forward, and even to the next generation. You know what I mean? Like Yori, like she lost her dad for just about all her life, or most of her life. Chihiro, like Kunishige and all that. So that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out and how it is viewed. But let Hokuzono cook.
Yeah, that's what we say. That's what we say.
Yep. But I mean, Daishu, I wanted to say anything, brother?
No, man, I think we pretty much covered it. See where we go from here.
It's looking good though. I mean, like I said, I think we, hopefully we slow down a little bit. I mean, if we get like a week time skip and Chihiro's already in the mountain with Itsuo Shirikai, hey, I'm down for that too.
Yeah, I won't be mad.
He needs that training arc with Natsuki mad.
Hey, I wouldn't be mad at that either.
Yeah, because I mean that's a good partner for him too. To spar with. I want to ask y'all this: how do you think Hiyuki views everything that happens?
Oh man!
Now that Soga's taken the helm of the Kabunabi, we know that she had issues with how Kabunabi handled things, and now Soga's selling this dream of like protecting Japan and its citizens from any threat. But we know also how she looks at the enchanted blades too.
Yeah, I mean, we remember, like, what was it, chapter 20, chapter 19, something like that. She said the enchanted blades should be wielded for the welfare of the nation.
Yeah,
and she was very, very against the Rakuzaichi. So I'm pretty sure she'd be on Soga's side.
Imagine she's Soga's.
Right, no, that's gonna be tough to see. I won't lie. That's gonna be tough to see.
That was my big thing, because I've always kind of said like Hiyuki. Now Hiyuki's, like her words sound harsher than she is. she's just that type of rough personality. We know she's like
she's a softie.
Yeah, and she has this like her own sense of justice, and she does care about the welfare of people. It's just about how far she's gonna let that sway her judge of character, really. Like considering, she said like a lot of crazy shit to Chihiro throughout the, but she does know Chihiro's a good person. So is she gonna like take the word of this war hero that is, saying that he's gonna protect Japan and all of its people from, threats? Or is she gonna believe the guy that she's been having like faith in, Chihiro, saying he's a good guy? I'm waiting to see how that plays out. I mean, obviously, I hope Hiyuki stays with Chihiro, because she's like, I really would like to see her like go all out and kill Hishaku.
Yeah, that's a good question for the commenters though, for the viewers and listeners. So, yeah, I'm interested in what they think though.
What do y'all? Well, let me hear y'all's thoughts too before we head out.
Well, I mean, I think I don't really have much like, because it is kind of like a, something we could really go deep on. So I guess to kind of keep it short, all I'm saying is that like, yeah, from what we know, it could seem on the surface that she would align with Soga, but at the same time, we could like, this could be also the point where like we see her character be developed and we see her ideals like explored, as well as like her backstory. We don't know what's up with Flamebone. So yeah, on the surface, I do think it looks like she might side with him, but like knowing what we know from what we've seen from her character and the little time we've kind of spent with her, I have trouble kind of seeing that. So I think it's more so gonna be like her character fleshed out and then her ultimately siding with Chihiro. What do you think, Bingle?
I mean, I pulled up chapter 20. What she says, at least according to officials, is whatever your beliefs, those who wield enchanted blades serve only themselves.
Self-service.
You've got no business wielding a weapon of that magnitude to serve yourself. It should be controlled by the Kaminabi for the welfare of the nation. I mean, from that, on a surface level, initially, my first reaction was, oh, she would support Soga. But Soga is kind of the worst case scenario of what she's talking about, right?
That's
like
true.
an individual at the highest level controlling all that power instead of the government having that power. Like that is the worst case scenario for her.
Yeah.
So even though he might do things she agrees with, like subjugating the sorcerer families and purging evildoers, eventually, even if she agrees with him initially, kind of, she's going to come to the realization, if she doesn't already like immediately disagree, that he is just like too extreme and he needs to be like dealt with.
Yeah, see, I'm wondering if there is like a change, like where she notices, like, you know, maybe Soga just, because Soga can just do as he pleases and no one can really tell him anything, he might just take he might sit back a bit and, you know, he will have to like iron out the shit and, you know, basically set everything to like a baseline level. But he might get this like way of the world, and you might sorcery crimes are like way down, and or just crime in general. And then he just starts letting his new Kabanabi members go out and do their thing or whatever. And then I'm wondering if there's a change in Hiyuki to even like pose the question, Chihiro, what if this is for the better? And then that creates discourse. But I ultimately think, like, you know, along the way y'all think, like, if we just look at the words, sure, it looks like she would be on board, but it's the you know, like I said, the judge of character and the actions of Soga and the actions of Chihiro are very different. They speak to different volumes.
Oh yeah, that's it.
I'm excited to see where things go. I
Agreed.
definitely got to make a video once we get a couple more chapters on Samura as a father. Not going to talk about like my opinions on Samura's death. I already put that in my most recent video, but kind of deconstructing Samura like as like a girl dad, as the girl dad trope, especially if Yorimune happens, because like there's a lot I can go into there. Him being a disciple of Shirkai, there's a lot that I can deconstruct there. But who knows? I'm a busy college student, so maybe I'll have to wait till I'm free. But we'll see.
Like that. Real life
I'm
is
excited.
real life. And yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. You know, I think this closes the arc out. You know, we didn't really get like any kind of title drop or, you know, like the Rakuzaichi or anything like that. But, you know, there could be like a aftermath chapter before it actually segues into the next part. But I mean, this is just about, you know, we can consider this the end, obviously, of the Kabanabi HQ. So this is our specials. This is our Shibuya arc for Kagurabachi. You know, crazy ass event, and then the aftermath. You know, going forward is you know, how the story or what dictates the story.
Yeah, I agree. It does seem also like to what Bingo was saying, the kind of like 3-part saga, you know, way of seeing it, with Samura kind of going out here and Soga like now being this new force out in the world. It does seem like the end of an arc, and it's, you know, practically what is like the Sword Bears assassination arc, saga, whatever you want to call it, because up to Kamunabi HQ they were trying to kill Soga, right? So like obviously that didn't happen, but I agree. I think we're turning a new leaf, so we'll see.
A sword bearer did die, and his name is Saichi Samura.
Yeah.
Rip.
Yeah.
But no, it was a great chapter. Bingo, appreciate you coming on. Y'all make sure to check out his channel and all that. He's a good dude. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, looking forward to the video.
I'm so glad to be here. So glad to talk. And Hokuzono, what do you have in store for us?
Yeah, that's the question.
That is the
That's
question.
the question.
Yeah, we'll definitely link up again, in the near future and do something. We'll find some, maybe a stream or something. Me and Dice trying to get back into streaming, so you'll definitely see Bangle on again at some point.
Yes, sir.
If he wants to come on, of course.
It's just a scheduling question. Exams are starting up in like 2 weeks for me.
Ooh, best of luck, brother. Best of luck.
Yeah, good luck, bro.
Yeah.
Handle your business.
Yep. I'll let you guys know when I got the time, though.
Yeah.
All right.
Good. And Dice, anything you want to say?
No, that's all from me, man. Good chapter and good coverage. Good talk.
That's right. Yep. Good conversations. All right, gentlemen. Y'all have a good day. Y'all make sure to like, subscribe, check out all our channels, show some love in the comments section, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.